Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Namaste Village. It's Monday, and we just finished showing everyone in the Zoom room our beautiful building, the huge, gorgeous mural that has been worked on for over a month by two incredible Mexican artists. We are just overflowing with art and love and happiness here, and I know where you are as well. And we are going to be starting off this morning, as we will every day this week, and we'll see where this goes, with what we're going to be calling the Great Declaration. So let me bring this up on the screen. And I will read it first, and then we're going to read it together. So hopefully you all can see the screen here at Namaste Village. If not, come a little bit closer. Here we go. I choose to know, not believe, but to know that I am infinite spiritual consciousness embodying all goodness, all grace, and the eternal glory of God. Great beginning, eh? This is the song I will sing, the sermon I will preach, the lesson I will teach. And until full realization comes, this is my theme, my motif. It is the silver cord of truth running through every message I deliver. Amen, and may it be so. So I want to ask, is this something you all feel you can commit yourself to and give yourself to as we begin here today?
Yes.
All right, so let's do it together.
Yes.
And with great energy. Here we go. I choose to know that I am infinite spiritual consciousness, embodying all goodness, all grace, and the eternal glory of God. This is the song I will sing, the sermon I will preach, the lesson I will teach. And until full realization comes, this is my theme, my motif. It is the silver cord of truth running through every message I deliver. Amen, and may it be so. Can you feel that? There's some energy. What was that?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Well, what happens when full realization comes?
What happens when full realization comes?
Until full realization comes, and then what happens?
Well, then you're in the full realization of
Then we
it.
don't have to say this.
You're in the.
Could you just show it briefly one more time?
Until full realization comes, until we are fully realized in the experience of what we just shared, we repeat it like a mantra. We allow it to penetrate the armor that we have used to block. The armor of the ego, the self-identity, all it really does is block what we just read. And this is really a commitment to no longer block the truth, to no longer block the real. So at the beginning of every session this week, we'll share that, and we'll see where it goes, okay? And I also have something I want to share. When I was having dinner last night, a little story appeared in my mind that I thought would be fun to share with you. So let me read this, and then I'm not sure if it really has an ending, so maybe you all can help me with the ending. But this is what we have. Imagine a sparrow flying through an open window in a very large airport. Maybe I was thinking, I do realize I was thinking about this because when I was at PDX, the Portland airport, getting ready to come back, I did see a sparrow flying through the rafters. Imagine a sparrow flying through an open window in a very large airport. Since the airport is so large, it never finds its way back to the other world, but makes its home in the rafters of the airport. After some time, it meets other sparrows who suffer the same captivity. And they form a community together. They talk about the other world they left, find mates, and ultimately raise sparrow families, all inside the airport. Generations pass, and after many years, the sparrows forget that there is a world outside the walls of the airport. They can see the larger world when they pass a window or even an open door, but the fear of what it means keeps them from leaving the world they have always known. Then one of the sparrows, almost by accident, flies out through an open door and suddenly finds itself in the open air. At first, the bird doesn't know how to react. It tries to fly back to safety, but the door it flew through has closed. It looks through the glass at its sparrow friends and wonders if this is what death is: isolation. As the days and weeks pass, the sparrow wanders further and further from the airport. It sees huge steel birds that lift from the ground with a thunderous roar. It also meets other birds that are astonished by the sparrow's story of the safe home it left. Is it true that there's a ceiling that keeps you from soaring into the clouds? A hawk asks. Are you telling me that the twigs and the leaves you use to build your nest are made of plastic? A crow inquires. The sparrow begins to consider the possibility that it never knew what the real world was. As this idea and reality become more concrete, it longs to find an open door to fly back into the airport to tell the entire sparrow community about its discovery. Then one day, the wise old owl who helped the sparrow understand everything shares this. The building where you lived was just as much a part of the real world as everything you're discovering now. Once again, the building where you lived was just as much part of the real world as everything you're discovering now, the wise old owl explained. But you thought that the building where you lived was the only true world and that everything you perceived out the window was fantasy. Your experience of the real world has expanded to include everything, not just some things. I meant to write more, but I didn't have time. So I figured, well, maybe we can end this story together. What I like about this is that it's a discussion that we often have, the real world. What is the real world? And we hear that this is not the real world. We get confused about this. Well, what does that mean? I'm here, aren't I? I wake up every morning in the same bed. I interact during the day with many of the same people. So there is a level of consistency to my experience here that leads me to believe that there is something real happening. And it becomes confusing for especially a newly awakened mind when they hear that, no, this is not real. This is not the real world. And I think that this story brings it into a different, maybe easier to understand context. It's not that the airport isn't the real world. It's just a tiny, tiny little piece of the real world. But these sparrows who now for generations have been living in the rafters of this airport, its entire world being the airport, not even daring to imagine that there could be something outside the airport, going by the windows, thinking all the things that it sees out there are just some fantasy world, a dream maybe. Instead of realizing, as the wise old owl tells the sparrow, that this is the world that you have limited yourself in. The instant you chose to fly out that window or that door, and begin to experience the wider expanse of this real world, it wasn't that what you had before disappeared. It's just now you have opened and awakened and allowed a new reality to take hold. You're able to fly great distances. You're able to fly to great heights and to meet other birds that are so completely unlike all the sparrows that you met in the airport. So once again, everything is part of the real world. Everything is the real world. It's not that this is not and this is, it's everything is. It's like something that you've heard me say many times before when people ask me if I believe in God. Of course, the answer is no. I don't believe in God, that there is a God outside somewhere. What I believe in is only God. That's all there is. We could say the same thing here. All there is the real world. All there is heaven itself. But we have limited ourselves to a box. We've put a box over us and said, I'm going to project onto the inside of this box all of these images in my mind of where I am, where I don't want to be, all of these ideas of guilt and punishment. The box is off now. You've flown out the door. Whether you realize it or not, fly. Don't hold back. And if you choose to go back into the airport to tell the other sparrows what you've discovered, beautiful. By the way, can any of you guess that this is kind of a slight retelling of a very ancient story? Any of you guess what it is? The cave analogy. Aristotle's cave analogy. Yeah, same idea. The slaves who were tied and chained to posts, and all they saw were the shadows against the wall until one of them breaks free, turns around, and sees the other slaves that are walking past the fire, casting the shadow. It's not that the shadows aren't real, it's just that they're shadows. Do you see the difference? They're shadows. So, who wants to end the story for us? You had your hand up, Deborah. What did you want to say?
I don't know if I can end this story, but I'm just picturing it as a lady unfolding it, that it would be a lovely children's book, or even
A children's book. Who knows?
And I see Jesus as the sparrow, and who's telling us that he's
Saying that she sees Jesus as the sparrow,
and ending it. I have
the one who broke free.
I can't end it right now, but I'll.
Okay. Anyone else have a thought of what happens to the sparrow?
Well, it's perfect because you always have choices.
You always have choices.
The sparrow, that's the perfect ending, is because he can make the choice, and we can all make the choice.
We can all make the choice
To go back into the airport or stay
instead
outside.
of realizing or thinking that we don't have a choice.
Yeah,
This is where we are.
always have.
This is where we will remain.
Yeah.
That's the choice, the choiceless choice. But now we realize this is what we're experiencing here is just a tiny, tiny fraction of reality, of the world of our inheritance. How about all of you in the Zoom room? Vicky, let's just turn to you for a moment. Hold on one second. I want to fix something here because we can hear you. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Vicky, we should be able to hear you now. So what do you think, Vic?
First, I agree with Deborah. I honestly, the storyteller blesses us all with joy right off the bat. And thanks for using that gift. And I think, or I feel like part maybe in the telling of the story and the living of it, heavenly tales for the awakening, all the awakening souls here in time, to live in eternity now, not later, to see how the portals are open through our love for one another, and everyone can be content and joyful and start dancing now because we're free to fly back and forth. It doesn't matter. The eternal glorious state of limitless freedom and union and joy is available. And the example is exactly the portal of the little bird that allows everyone to move through it and find out for themselves. But and it wouldn't surprise me if you make a little book of heavenly tales for all our awakening brothers and sisters, because it's in the childlike simplicity. When any of us run out of all the words and all the teachings and have read all the books, what do we go back to? Except you be like a little child. It's in the parables, it's in the little children analogies that it takes root in our hearts, because there are no more distractions from fancy words and complicated teachings and all kinds of workshops. Jesus brings us right back to childlike simplicity of believe. Open your heart, open your eyes to one another and to the doors that are open all around, and know that we can walk through all these places. Eternity isn't something that happens when you die. It's something that's going on right now while we're alive. Start dancing, everybody. That's where we're living. So I can see a whole village and a whole landscape of animals and friends and leprechauns and bees and everything, sharing the joy and sharing the stories of on earth as it is in heaven for the awakening children in childlike simplicity. It would be today was one of the greatest gifts. All of us, thank you, Brother James. Thank you for sharing your gifts. You are a blessed storyteller. We all have gifts and we bring them and we share them. But the gift of storytelling is rare. Not everyone has that gift. So, Brother James, thanks for the gift of the story. Thanks for its simplicity. And wherever we're looking, wherever we are, the windows are open. That's all. And there's a brother in front of us that will reach out his hand, because whether the brother we call him by Jesus or by Francis or by Buddha, the name doesn't matter. As we reach for a brother who's free, we are taken like Peter Pan. We're taking Wendy. We're taking off and showing how to fly. That's what I have to say. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, everyone. And so nice to be in a family call. We're in May Day, first few days of May Days, where we're celebrating the simple joys of flowers and life and beauty and radiance. And we are the flowers. We are the flowers, as well as the little things that grow on the side everywhere we look. So thanks, brother. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Vicky. Yes, storytelling, parables. This is maybe the best way for us to learn. Maybe you heard this message today in a way that you haven't heard it before, because there is something that is so ancient about hearing someone relate a story and learning from the images in that story. The only thing I think I would change with the story of the sparrow is that the door never closes. Once it flies out of the door there, out into the open air, that door doesn't close behind you. You can return if you want. We might call that a bodhisattva, someone who comes to bring freedom and enlightenment to the others, or just stay and fly. It's your choice. There are no rules with this. We are boundless. We are eternal. I love what you said, Vicky, that eternity isn't something that happens after we die. Eternity, the eternal, is now. When else would it be but right now? So let's fly out of that door together and soar. See where it takes us. You might meet other beings and other entities and other saints and sages that you would never have expected. And you'll learn lessons that you could never learn here, but in this new greater expanse, you will learn them. But that's the reason we're here. It's the only reason we're here, to fly. Yes, Deborah.
I have a possible ending.
Okay, you're gonna have to come up here if you're gonna give it so everybody can hear you.
No.
Yeah, come on up. Deborah has an ending she wants to share. All right. Come sit in the chair next to me. And you can hold the microphone. Ooh. We'll just use this one.
This is excruciating for me, but I'll get over it. Well, thank you for this opportunity. Okay, this is an ending of an ending of an ending. So the bird discovers that she can fly out of the airport hangar. She can fly out of the terminal. She can fly now out of the country. She can come to Mexico. From there she can go who knows where. And from there she can go who knows where. And it never ends. It has no ending.
It has no ending. That's a good ending. The ending that has no ending. I love it. I'm sure we could all come up with our own ending, but we first have to have a beginning. So why not now? We don't have to stay inside the terminal theorizing any longer. We don't have to stay here wondering what it's like outside those windows. The door is open. If there's anything that we have learned here together with our mighty companions, it's that. The door is open. It's always been open. It's not going to close. But we have to have the courage to fly. But there is always a part of us that holds to what we think we know, what we believe is true. And that's here. We feel comfortable being bound, being constricted, being restricted. And all we're learning now is that we don't have to do that anymore. We can be here, we can choose to experience what we experience with joy and happiness and freedom, or we can fly out that window and we can soar into the clouds and come back and forth as we choose. Now we know. Don't forget, the door is open. So thank you, everyone. What a great way to begin our week, knowing that the door is open and we can fly. I'm so happy to be back. It's lovely to be able to share with all of you. Vicki, any final things you'd like to share, or anyone else? So we have a couple of minutes. If anyone has a question or any quick thing that they'd like to share, and I mean quick, raise your hand. But Vicki, why don't you go first?
Nothing, Brother James, just thank you. Thank you, everyone. And let the stories and the images flow out of us so that we see them everywhere, wherever we look.
Amen. All right. I don't see anybody's hands up. Anyone here at Namaste want to share any final thoughts? Are we good? We are good. Baraka, dear Baraka, you're a storyteller. What do you want to share?
Well, I just want to let everyone remember that we all have the choice to go back into the airport and bring the message with us.
That's right. We can fly in and out as we choose. It's your choice. Thank you. And by the way, later this week, I don't know if it's going to be Thursday or Friday, but somewhere in there, I have a big surprise for all of you. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but there's going to be a delightful surprise, something that I've been working on in my trip to Portland. So hopefully it will be finished by then. So.
Is it something to eat?
It's not something to eat. Is it something to eat? Asks the food lady. All right, so let's go ahead and we will share our final prayer together. If you'd like to stand, please feel free to do so. Let's share our prayer of protection. Hold on, let me pull it full screen. Here we go. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen, 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 y punto. Thank you, everyone.
Happy Monday.
Thank you.
See
I
you
love you all.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
Have a
you.
good
Bye
week.
for now.